They had laughed at her scope, mocked the way she calibrated it, and whispered that she didn't belong behind a sniper rifle. But the moment her bullet tore through the desert wind, at the moment the impact pinged from 800 meters away, at the moment the spotter whispered, "No way," every Marine standing behind her, every man who had doubted her, went dead silent. And that was the day they learned why you never underestimate someone who has survived more than you can imagine. The woman who calculated quietly, Sergeant Lena Cross, arrived at Camp Ridgewater with nothing but a duffel bag, a stiff salute, and a reputation she never asked for. Some said she had potential. Others said she was too quiet, too calm, too analytical to be combat material. But Lena had learned long ago that silence wasn't weakness. Silence was survival. When she walked onto the sniper range for the first time, she instantly felt the eyes on her. The squad of Marines who had spent years mastering long-range marksmanship. They had the confidence, the swagger, the jokes ready before she even set her bag down. "Hey, nice toy scope," one laughed. "Is that thing even zeroed in?" Another said. "She looks like she's here to take pictures, not shoot." A third joked. Lena didn't respond. Not because she was intimidated, but because she refused to let noise distract her mind. Her entire life had trained her for this moment, a childhood of chaos, a father who believed emotions were weaknesses, and a drill instructor who once told her, "If you ever want to prove yourself, don't talk. Hit your mark." So she did what she always did. She knelt beside her rifle, placed her cheek on the stock, and listened to the wind breathe across the desert. The others kept teasing. Corporal Hayes, the loudest of the group, leaned over. "You gonna actually shoot, or just stare at that thing?" Lena finally spoke. Just one sentence. "Wind shifting. Give it 10 seconds." They laughed louder. "Who waits 10 seconds? Real shooters fire when ready." But 10 seconds later, the wind hit hard from the west. Exactly as Lena predicted. The laughter stopped. She still didn't shoot. Not yet. Instead, she adjusted her scope less than a millimeter. A subtle tweak only a truly trained eye would understand. The range instructor, Master Gunnery Sergeant Riker, watched with quiet curiosity. He'd seen thousands of shooters, but rarely had he seen someone this patient, this calculated. Finally, she spoke again. "Target 800 meters. A distance so extreme that even elite snipers missed more often than they hit." Riker raised a brow. "That's beyond advanced. You sure you want that one?" Lena didn't even lift her head from the rifle. "Lock it in." Behind her, Hayes snorted. "I'll eat my dog tags if she lands that." The squad chuckled, leaning closer, ready to enjoy the show. Lena exhaled, a long, slow, disciplined breath. For her, this wasn't a shot. This was a truth she had carried her whole life. The world doubts quiet people until the quiet becomes the loudest thing in the room. She squeezed the trigger, the rifle cracked. The desert echoed. The bullet vanished into heat waves. Everyone leaned forward. 3 seconds passed, then 5, then 8. At exactly 10 seconds, far, far away, a faint metallic ping whispered back across the desert. Riker blinked. Hayes froze. No one breathed. The spotter lifted his binoculars. His jaw slowly dropped. Direct hit. The range went silent. The shot that changed everything. For a full 10 seconds, nobody moved. The Marines who had mocked her scope, her silence, and her presence on the range stood like statues, disbelief carved into their faces. Corporal Hayes stepped forward, voice cracking. "Was that really 800 meters?" Riker crossed his arms, trying to hide his shock. "That wasn't luck. That was mastery." But Lena didn't smile, didn't boast, didn't even look up. She simply adjusted her scope for the next shot. The silence behind her felt different now. Softer, respectful. "Hey, Sergeant Cross," one Marine finally said. "Where'd you learn to read wind like that?" Lena didn't turn around. Long story. But Riker stepped closer, kneeling beside her. "We've got time," he said. For the first time all day, Lena lifted her eyes from the rifle. She didn't tell them everything. The harsh winters where her father taught her to track deer by breath alone. The years she spent studying ballistics while others partied. The battles she fought inside herself every time someone told her she didn't belong. But she gave them one truth. "I learned to shoot because it was the only place in my life where everything made sense. Where math, breathing, and focus mean more than noise." The Marines listened quietly, their earlier arrogance melting into understanding. Hayes stepped forward. This time no jokes. Just humility. "Sergeant, I was wrong. That shot, that was legendary. Lena nodded slightly. Not in pride, but in acceptance. Riker stood, putting a firm hand on her shoulder. I've trained snipers for 22 years, he said. And what you just did, that puts you beyond them. That was world class. The others nodded. A new energy filled the range, not ridicule, but unity. Not competition, but respect. Riker looked at the squad. You all saw it. She didn't yell. She didn't brag. She didn't need to. That shot will be talked about in every shooting school from here to Pendleton, and I expect every one of you to learn from her. Hayes raised a hand. First lesson, never underestimate the quiet one. Everyone laughed. This time with her, not at her. Lena took her next breath slowly, letting the warmth of acceptance settle. But then Riker asked the question that changed everything. You ever think about teaching cross? About leading a team? Lena's eyes widened softly. She had never imagined herself as a leader. But in that moment, surrounded by people who finally saw her, she felt something new rise inside her. Confidence, belonging, purpose. If it helps someone else hit their mark, she said quietly, then yes, I'd like that. Riker nodded. Good. Because starting tomorrow, you're training the long-range unit. The Marines erupted into cheers, loud, proud, genuine. Lena looked back at the distant target, still ringing faintly in the wind. The shot that froze them had finally freed her. The truth behind the silence: you don't need to shout to prove who you are. You don't need to argue, or fight, or rise to every challenge someone throws at you. Sometimes, one perfectly aimed moment is enough to rewrite everything. And that's exactly what she did.